As you know, it's really a 2,000-year-old tradition on Holy Thursday as we begin Triduum to actually remember what Christ gave us at the Last Supper. And we'd call it the Eucharist, the real presence. And I don't really want to talk too much about that because I'm hoping you already believe that or you wouldn't have been here. But we do believe in the real presence, and I know I run into some non-Catholics who say, really, you believe that's Jesus? And I said, yeah. Not a symbol. I believe that is the presence of Christ. He literally said, I am the living bread come down from heaven. This is my body, this is my blood. And just because I have a weird sense of humor, like Moses says to the people, if you remember the story, they're slaves. And God hears their cry for freedom. And God says, I'm going to set you free. And I'm not going to send an army of angels to free you. I'm going to free you through a meal, which just sounds strange. You eat the Lamb of God, you eat the unleavened bread, you drink the wine, you will be set free. You have to eat it. And so part of Judaism, what makes you a Jew is that you eat the Lamb of God. Then you're set free. Or as Moses said, then all of us, no matter what time, become one. And in ancient Judaism, they'd have the Lamb of God sacrificed in the temple, and then the father of the house would go to the temple, pick up the lamb that's been sacrificed, and then eat it with his family. But could you imagine coming home to your family, and let's say I'm the father, and I come home and say, oh no, I didn't pick up a lamb, I picked up a symbol of the lamb. Really? We're not going to eat? No, just a symbol is good enough. Or what the responsorial psalm, the cup, I forgot. The cup of blessing that we share isn't a share in the blood of Christ. St. Paul didn't say sharing in a symbol of the blood of Christ. He said it's sharing in the blood of Christ. So, yes, we believe that it's not a symbol. We believe it's a real presence. Have for 2,000 years. Now, that I think everybody knows. But the problem is, we do believe that, but we also believe eating the Lamb of God, eating the Eucharist, drinking, sharing the cup, that obligates us to a life of love. That's why at the Last Supper, Jesus gives a command that we must love each other as Christ loved us, pouring out our whole life in love. But the problem is, the disciples don't get it. So then Jesus teaches with symbols. And they don't get this idea of love. They think, well, I'll just love people I'm close to. And he said, no. You love everyone. And he does something radical. And that is, he washes their feet. Now, the symbol of the washing the feet, just want to explain that. Remember, they were slaves in Egypt. And when God freed them, they no longer have to be slaves to hatred. The Egyptians hated them, made their lives terrible. Never do they want to be slaves again. And only a slave would wash somebody's feet. So for Jews, that would be a symbol of being a slave. So think how radical it is. Never do they want to play the role of a slave. And at the Last Supper, Jesus takes off his outer garment, ties a towel, and washes their feet. He plays the role of a slave. And he says, if I, your Lord and Master, do that, you must. If the Master plays the role of a slave, what it basically means is this. Yes, we're not slaves to hatred, but if you share in the Eucharist, you are slaves of love. That we must love each other completely. That's a radical thought. It turns everything upside down. The other symbol of the washing of the feet that I like, it's kind of amazing, in Exodus 30 and 40, chapter 30 and 40, the ancient ordination rite for a priest is that before a priest would be ordained, he would have his feet washed. And then, before the priest would walk into the temple to offer sacrifice for the Lamb of God, guess what would happen? He would have his feet washed. So this idea is that, or it used to be, the priest is way up here. And Christ is the high priest. But now, Christ is the one who's washing their feet. it has this idea that leadership is actually playing the role of an extreme servant. The reason why Peter says, "No, Lord, you can't wash my feet." Christ is going to play the role of a slave. But the idea is that if we share in the Eucharistic presence, then it turns the world upside down. What it means to lead is actually to care completely for other people. Just to make this point, one more thing. Do you know that line where it says, he took out his outer garment? If they were celebrating the Passover, you'd have this festival outer garment. So Jesus takes off his outer garment. What does that mean? It's not just so he can get more room to wash feet. What the outer garment symbolizes, what this symbolizes is, think about it this way, our exterior identity. So that would be, like I'm Irish and good looking and, hey. All those things are exterior. We don't love based on exterior things like whether you're Irish or American or Democrat or Republican. That's all exterior. He takes it off. And what he has on underneath is an interior garment. Everybody who gets baptized gets one of these. Altar servers wear them, I wear them. It symbolizes our true identity in God. Our true identity in God is that we are children of God. Christ makes us children of God. And for that reason, we don't love people based on exterior things. Look at like our St. Vincent de Paul. If somebody goes to St. Vincent de Paul, we don't ask, are you Catholic? Are you we don't base it on anything exterior. It's based on something interior in us. If we share in the presence of Christ in the Eucharist, then it obligates us to a life of foot washing, to be slaves of love, not based on exterior things. And so at this time, actually, I'd like to invite the 12 people who are going to have their feet washed to please come forward. There's benches here. You can take your shoes off. And all these people are people who are going to enter the church. And I like this symbol, that if they're going to enter the church, we show them that when they share in the Eucharist, they're obligating themselves to a life of love, obligating themselves to serve other people. And my hope is that I don't think I'm really, to be honest, I don't think I'm really completely true to the Eucharistic presence of Christ. And what I mean by that is this. I'm not a complete slave to love. Sometimes I'm selfish. I wanted to punch the deacon before Mass, but who doesn't? No, I didn't. I was kidding, joking. But I'm serious on this part. I don't think I've completely lived the Eucharistic life until we've turned the world upside down, where all of us become slaves of love. That's what we're teaching those who are entering the church. So please come forward and let me wash your feet.